Alright, so from Shovey, you should have lesson 44 brought up. The title here is Elijah's Challenge. 1 Kings chapter 18. Okay. So, we were introduced to King Ahab. We saw how wicked he was. He did more wickedness than all of the kings before him in Israel. The wickedness was now taken out of the homes where many sins were done in private and was now done publicly before all of Israel. Ahab married the wicked Jezebel. And God brought Elijah and used Elijah. Allowed Elijah already to do a few miracles. Here with the widow at Zarephath. Giving her food and also raising her son. The Lord provided for him. And if we remember, when Elijah went before Ahab, he told him, or when he sent the messenger, no rain until I say it's going to rain. Well, now that people know there's a drought. And it's a drought from the Lord. So we can assume that Ahab had his men searching through the land, far and near, wherever he could to try to find Elijah, to get him to ask for rain. Okay? So, we're up to the third year probably. Prophet Elijah is at Zarephath, living there in the widow's home with her and her son. God is caring for them there. And we'll pick it up here at chapter 18, verse 1. And it came to pass after many days that the word of the Lord came to Elijah in the third year, saying, Go, show thyself unto Ahab, and I will send rain upon the earth. And Elijah went to show himself unto Ahab. And there was a sore famine in Samaria, and Ahab called Obadiah, which was the governor of his house. Now Obadiah feared the Lord greatly. For it was so, when Jezebel cut off the prophets of the Lord, that Obadiah took 100 prophets, and hid them by 50 in a cave, and fed them with bread and water. And Ahab said unto Obadiah, Go into the land unto all fountains of water and unto all brooks, peradventure we may find grass to save the horses and mules alive, that we lose not all the beasts. And so they divided the land between them to pass throughout it. Ahab went one way by himself, and Obadiah went another way by himself. And as Obadiah was in the way, behold, Elijah met him, and he knew him, and fell on his face, and said, Art thou my lord Elijah? And he answered him, I am. Go, tell thy Lord, behold, Elijah is here. And he said, What have I sinned, that thou wouldest deliver thy servant into the hand of Ahab to slay me? As the Lord thy God liveth, there is no nation or kingdom whither my Lord hath not sent to seek thee. And when they said, He is not there, he took an oath of the kingdom and nation, and they found thee not. And now thou sayest, Go tell thy Lord, behold, Elijah is here. And it shall come to pass, as soon as I am gone from thee, that the Spirit of the Lord shall not carry thee whither I know not. And so when I come and tell Ahab, and he cannot find me, he shall slay me. But I, thy servant, fear the Lord from my youth. Was it not told, my Lord, what I did when Jezebel slew the prophets of the Lord, how I hid 100 men of the Lord's prophets by 50 in a cave, and fed them with bread and water? And now thou sayest, Go tell thy Lord, behold, Elijah is here. He shall slay me. And Elijah said, As the Lord of hosts liveth, before whom I stand, I will surely show myself unto him this day. So Obadiah went to meet Ahab and told him. And Ahab went to meet Elijah. We'll stop there. So all the sources of water are gone. We see that because Ahab has to send out Obadiah, go look in this place, and then in that place where we know there used to be these water, where the water comes forth, and there was no water to be found there. They had all dried up. The beasts, the wealth of Ahab, and the wealth of the land of Israel was dying because there was no water. And he knew it. No water would come except for Elijah would speak the word. So Obadiah says here to Elijah, he says, Look, Ahab, my lord, has sent men to every country on the face of this earth, wherever they could possibly go. He has sent them to look for you, and he has not been able to find you. That shows you. Ahab, first of all, knew why the famine was happening, because God had brought it upon him. He knew it was happening because Elijah had said it would happen, and it would not end until he prayed for it to end. So he wanted to find where he was. Okay? Again, in those days, in the times of Israel, droughts, okay, were a picture of God's anger. God was angry with the people of Israel for their sins of worshiping Baal and other idols. Rain was a picture of God's graciousness, of Him pouring out His goodness upon His people. Right? It was a symbol. So, here we have no water and lots of drought. God is angry with the people of Israel because of their sins. King Ahab traveled one direction to go try to find water. Obadiah traveled the other way. And in God's plan, God made the path of Obadiah and Elijah to cross. Now, who is this Obadiah? Well, we get twice in here something that he had done. Jezebel, in her hatred for God's people and God's prophets, probably because maybe they told her what she was doing was wrong, or maybe they prevented, by proper preaching, maybe they prevented some of the people from turning to Baal worship, and that angered her. And because Satan was working in her heart to try to wipe out all of God's people. Jezebel made it her purpose to go out into the land of Israel and murder, to kill any prophets that were left there that she could find. And she did so successfully most of the time. But in this instance, she was unsuccessful. Here's a man named Obadiah. He's an important man in the house of Ahab, but he's also a God-fearing man. Now, why would he have not been killed? I don't know. Did he hide who he was? Maybe. Did he, or I should say, did Ahab keep him around just in case? Because Ahab knew it deep down in his heart that God really was in control. And if he wiped out all of God's prophets and had no man in his house who could tell him the will of God, well, then he would be in trouble. It's kind of like, it may be like the people of Mars Hill who had all of those altars that Paul saw. An altar to this God, and even an altar to the unknown God. Maybe it was that Ahab wanted to keep a prophet to Baal, and a prophet to Ashtaroth, and a prophet to this God. Oh, and by the way, there is the holy God. I'll keep a prophet of his around too, just in case. We don't know. But the fact of the matter is, Obadiah is a godly man living in the house of Ahab, taking care of Ahab's animals. And when he finds out what Jezebel is doing, his heart is stirred. He has compassion on those other prophets. And what does he do? He gathers up 100 prophets. He splits them up into groups of 50. And he hides them in some caves in the hills, so that Jezebel cannot find them there. And he brings them food and he brings them water as needed from the king's house. Ahab would probably be furious. Especially Jezebel would be furious to hear this. So he helped these prophets. Okay? So, anyways, Obadiah is a little bit of afraid when he meets Elijah. When Elijah tells him to go tell Ahab. Because this is what Obadiah thinks. Obadiah thinks, Elijah, my master has searched near and far for years for you and could not find you. And now I stumble across you, and you say you're going to wait here for Ahab to come talk to you? Bah, humbug. I know what's going to happen. You're going to leave. My master will no longer once again be able to find you. And he's going to come back to me and say, Obadiah, that was a lie you told me. You just wanted to distract me, and he will kill me. I cannot do that. But Elijah assures him, No, Obadiah, I will be here. I will not leave you. Okay? So, we see that here. So Elijah reassures him, and Ahab then is told by Obadiah where Elijah is, and Ahab goes to meet him. Let's see what happens when they meet. Verse 17. And it came to pass, when Ahab saw Elijah, that Ahab said unto him, Art thou he that troubleth Israel? And he answered, I have not troubled Israel, but thou and thy father's house, in that ye have forsaken the commandments of the Lord, and hast followed Baalim. Now therefore send and gather to me all Israel unto Mount Carmel, and the prophets of Baal 450, and the prophets of the groves 400, which eat at Jezebel's table. So Ahab sent unto all the children of Israel, and gathered the prophets together unto Mount Carmel. And Elijah came unto all the people, and said, How long halt ye between two opinions? If the Lord be God, follow him, but if Baal, then follow him. And the people answered him not a word. Alright, so Elijah and Ahab meet, and we might suspect that Ahab would immediately kill him, or say, pray for rain, or I'm going to kill you right now. But that's not what happens. Ahab is being controlled by God, as God controls all things. And so God will not allow Ahab to kill Elijah. Okay? But what does Ahab do? Right? He says, You are a troublemaker. Why are you sending this drought? What have we done to you, Elijah, to make you want to make this drought? And Elijah says, No. The blame is not with me. The blame is with you and your people. They have angered the God by worshiping idols. And so the Lord has taken the drought away. It's not me. Right? How often don't we try to do that? We try to put the blame on somebody else. Well, they made me do it. We aren't talking about what they made you do. What did you do? Well, I sinned. That's what we need to say and admit. It was my fault. I did it. I should have said no. I should have resisted, but I didn't. So it's you, Ahab, and your people who have troubled God. So here's what you're going to do, King Ahab. You are going to gather all of Israel to Mount Carmel. And you are going to go to the table of Jezebel and gather the 450 prophets of Baal from there, and the other 400 prophets from the grove, the place where they would be worshiping Baal and Ashtaroth. Okay? And you are going to bring them here. Now, why would Ahab even agree to it? Why would he just say, fooling on all this? Just pray for rain right now or off your head. Because Ahab knew he needed to comply. He needed to cooperate in order for there to be rain. Does he really want to honor God? No. Does he really want the people to honor God? No. All he really wants is rain. So if he has to go through a bunch of hocus pocus in his mind and jump through a bunch of hoops, well, he'll do it so that they can have rain. Not because his heart loves the Lord. Hopefully that's not why we also. Why do you obey your parents? Why do you obey teachers? Why do you obey a minister? Because you have to? Or because in your heart you really want to? We pray that it's because in your heart you really want to. Okay? So, Elijah gathers all the people here. Now, why does he want them all here? For obvious reasons. That every single one of them will be left with no excuse. They all will see the power of God and how weak and insignificant Baal is. That Baal is no God at all. And he calls them and he tells them, how long will you sit here trying to jump between God or Baal? Choose you who ye will serve, God or Baal in this day. The people would not give him an answer. Why not? Because in their hearts they knew who the true God was, but their hearts were hardened, and they didn't want to believe. Right? That's why our belief can nearly never just be a matter of our mind. Well, do you believe it's true? I think so. But it's got to be a matter of your heart. Do you wholeheartedly, faithfully believe? And that's hard for us. Because the best situations for us to really see when we believe is if we're put in a situation like Abraham. Abraham really believed in his heart, but he didn't quite know it. So God made him take his only son Isaac up on top of that mountain to build an altar and to hold that knife above his son, and he would have plunged that knife into his son's heart and killed him because he believed in God. And there in that moment he understood that. Our lives are so easy and so void of any troubles or difficulties that is hard for us to sometimes understand that it's not just with our heads that we believe, but with our hearts too. And we would be able to show that when we are persecuted, or when we are called to do something that makes us uncomfortable. We do have opportunities to do those each and every day. It might not be as obvious as this, but that's what the people there, in their hearts, they needed to confess to, and they didn't want to. They knew in their heart. So Elijah puts together a proposal here. Okay? They're going to put together a challenge. Okay? And here's what the challenge will be. Okay? There will be an altar of Jehovah built on one mount, and an altar to Baal, okay, also there on the same hill. Okay? And they're going to take 2 oxen. One would be for the Baal servants to prepare for a sacrifice, and another Elijah would prepare for a sacrifice. Okay? It would be an offering for themselves and their God, and it would be a test. The test would be this: which God could bring down fire from heaven and start the altar on fire, so that it would be an altar burning in consecration to them. If fire came down from heaven to Baal's altar, then Baal is a god, and we must worship him. If fire comes down from heaven to God's altar, then God is the true God, and we must worship him. If they would both come down, well, they both must be gods. We already know the outcome and how the story goes. Okay? But it will be the God that answers by fire. He is the one true God. You can't say God is a God and Baal is a God. It is either one or the other. Okay? Now, we don't have this challenge in our lives today. We don't need to go set up an altar and call down fire from heaven. But we do always face that question: am I worshiping God, or am I worshiping something else? Okay? Am I a slave to sports so that I put off God's work that He's given me, my schoolwork, my catechism, my Bible studies, my family life, or not? Do I give my life over to money so that all I think about is what I can buy and how much money I have and how much I save? Or I can't spend a dime on this, and I'm so focused on money I can't pick up my eyes off my spreadsheet for just a moment lest I lose track of how much money I have. Then too I've made a god out of money. So who will we serve on this earth? Will it be fashion? Will it be how physically fit I can constantly keep my body, that I'm always working towards this? These are the things that we must be careful that we don't make gods out of. So we may not worship Baal. We may not set up an altar and call down fire from heaven. We need to make sure in our hearts, we need to decide, am I worshiping God or am I worshiping myself? Something on this earth. And hopefully, prayerfully, I know that the answer from each of you, from your hearts, would be that you pray, the Lord is my God, and that you are His servant. We'll see what the end of the challenge, how it ends up. Next time.